Hi, I'm Ken Stasiak, and this is State of Security for August of 2015. Last month, we talked about professional services, something dear to our heart, and some of the risks they were looking at, and some of the solutions that we offered. This month is going to be insurance, and we're going to look at some of the challenges that they face, some solutions, and some specific services that they could start implementing today to get the ball rolling for that industry. Show the insurance companies. Well, you see them all over. If you watch any TV, not Netflix, but actual TV, you see all these commercials, and they're all insurance companies. So what are they doing? They're spending a lot of money to get consumers, to get awareness out there. So their key is reputation. So on our website, it's the most clicked when we're out talking to clients. It's the number one thing that all insurance companies say is we want to protect our reputation. And what they're really saying is it's so difficult to get consumers to switch insurance companies. If you think about it, when was the last time you switched? And the reason why is because you generally rarely use it. If you do use it and you had a good event, you're not going to switch. Well, what could be a business driver that would affect a consumer to switch would be a data breach. Information being leaked out there would give the consumer that advantage to say, you know what, based on this, I'm going to switch now. So reputation's key. And what we find in insurance companies is there's so many different hands in the pot when it comes to information security and how they're going to protect PII or personally identifiable information. So what we're saying is that organizations in the insurance industry need to come together to develop a governance program. Really figure out who is going to be the owner, bringing it all together. And when you look at it, you have a lot of agents spread throughout. Some of these are direct employees of the organization, and some of them are agents and true agents. So how do you manage that, who have access to the data, and get that governance program built? And so effective insurance companies and organizations doing that have been able to master that by building steering committees, building a governance program, and then allowing information security to flow transparently through the organization. Insurance companies moving to the cloud, like all the other industries we've spoken to before, but the difference is insurance companies are really moving to the cloud for a business reason, not just technology. And that's the key differentiator here. And they're doing it, they have all this data, they're trying to migrate up, do a bunch of different data analytic correlation to spending habits, consumers, really providing a better experience. And with that, they're obviously giving PII over to outsourced service providers. Now, what do you do with that? Well, a lot of different ways that you could tackle the cloud, and there's a lot of different articles already out there that we've published and talked and spoken around. But the biggest thing to look at is a difference in the challenge. So a lot of organizations, when they look to cloud, is they're looking at a very, I would say, 5 to 10 year approach to it. It's a little old and we need to upgrade it a little bit. So when you look at it, a lot of organizations are looking at questionnaire-based, they're looking at network arcs, and a network arc is going to look at the environment overall. And in a cloud environment, that's very difficult to do. Most cloud providers have the network arc down pretty well to the science. That's hence the reasons it's in the cloud and the way that they've been able to segment, etc. But what we found is doing an application architecture review is the key when migrating or moving to a cloud provider. What that allows and what you're looking at is the applications and how they interconnect into the organization. So if you're an insurance company, you're migrating your data, how is this connection stream being handled? How is it being sent? What's the communications path to that? How has the application been developed, both in-house to support that, as well as in the cloud environment? And that's where we're finding most organizations not really taking a deep dive into the application architecture and still reviewing on a very more, I would say, archaic review, which would be the network arc review. The Beer 30 is actually going to talk about the network arc and the differences and some of the things that you can actually take advantage of. But again, if you're looking at cloud, you're going to move into the application architecture review. It's a much better service for cloud providers. So as we talked about, insurance companies have a lot of different challenges, somewhat unique to other industries, but the key is obviously focus on your governance program, Probably the biggest thing we find in organizations, especially in insurance, is so many different hands in the pot trying to get momentum in a security program and not obviously have conflict within the organization, or one hand doing another thing without the other hand knowing becomes key. And look at the cloud providers as you're moving towards cloud migrating or already there. Look at the application architecture. Really determine how the application is being used, software as a service, et cetera, and how it impacts the business, which is protecting consumers' PII. Now, we have a new video series that we've been rolling out based on feedback we've gotten from everyone watching the State of Security. Is we want a little bit more detail to what we've been providing. So the Beer 30 is actually going to look at network arc, the service around that, the value proposition, and when to use a network arc. And that'll be a great detailed segment. Really high level in State of Security, getting a little bit more detail in the Beer 30. This is Ken Stasiak, State of Security. I'll see you next month.